Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Dani. In today's video I want to show you how you can calculate stitches to make a project larger or smaller. This is a question that I get very often, every single day. How can I make my blanket bigger? How many stitches do I need to make a small hat? And etc. etc. So in this video I want to show you how you can do that. But before we get started, I want to ask you to please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button so you're gonna be notified every time that I upload a new video. And also follow me on social media. You can find me as CJ Design, especially on Instagram. I'm always active there, showing you guys a sneak peek of future projects, and I'm super active right there, so you can follow me on Instagram. I'm gonna leave the handle right here. All the links are in the description box below as well. So what we are gonna be learning in this video is how to calculate stitches to make either a bigger project or smaller, or to use a different yarn, either super bulky, worsted weight, whatever kind of yarn you want to use. So that's what we're gonna be learning today. And there's a few things that I want to mention before I show you how to do it, so everything is super clear at the beginning. So first of all, you are going to need measurements. Either if you want to make a super big blanket, you're gonna need the measurements for that, or if you want to make a different size of hat, you will need the measurements for that hat. So if you want to put your own measurements, that's totally fine. But if you want to recreate a pattern that another designer made, you will need those measurements as well. And not every designer will leave you the measurements, so make sure that before you recreate a pattern you have those measurements. The other thing that I want to mention is that this particular method is for simple projects, for blankets, hats, scarves, shawls, things like that that are very simple and that also have simple stitches. Because if you want to modify the size for a different project, let's say a sweater, it is way more difficult because you're gonna need measurements from the sleeves, for the chest, the waist, a lot of different measurements, and it's gonna be more complicated. So what I'm gonna show you, it's just for basic and simple projects. Also for simple stitches, because some patterns require multiples of 6, 7, 2, 4, etc. And not every designer will give you that those details unless you ask, or unless you know how to do those stitches and you already know the multiples, etc. So this is very basic, but again, it's gonna be super helpful for you to recreate a hat, again, blankets, etc. Okay, next you are gonna need the materials. So to make this, we're gonna make a sample swatch or a gauge swatch, and to do this you're gonna need the exact same materials that you're gonna need for your project. So let's say I'm gonna use a super bulky weight yarn to make a blanket like this, and my 10mm crochet hook. So I'm gonna need those materials to make this sample swatch, because just one smaller hook can make a huge difference in the size. So you're gonna need those materials and also the same stitch. So whenever we're doing the swatch, you want to do it with the same stitch that your final project is gonna be. It's not the same measuring stockinette than garter stitch. It's gonna be a completely different size, okay? So keep that in mind. And last but not least, you're going to need a ruler. You can either get one of these kind of rulers that are basically made for swatches. It's a square and it's a 4x4, and it's just makes your life easier. But if you don't have this, don't worry, you can use just a regular ruler that you can find at any craft store, the dollar store, one of these. You can also use a measuring tape, but I will recommend you getting something that is rigid and hard like a ruler. You will also need a calculator, and just that, you can get a calculator on your phone. And we're gonna do a small math okay? Don't get scared. It's not like a huge math whatever super complicated. It's very, very simple, and this is gonna help you to calculate the stitches. So that's all you need to know before doing your swatch, your gauge swatch. So now let's go over the table, and I'm gonna show you how exactly is that you can do it. Okay, so I have in here my little swatch. I knitted this, it's in stockinette, and one thing that you need to know before is that try to make your swatch as big as possible. The reason it's because we usually tend to knit or crochet tighter and more focused at the beginning, and once we are going further in our project, our tension tends to lose a little bit and be more relaxed, and that's the true tension that you're gonna continue throughout the project. So try to make your swatch as big as possible. And the other reason is because the edges, you can see in here, it folds, and these stitches right here are just not good to be counted. So the bigger the better. So I have my swatch in here, I have my ruler and just a little needle to count the stitches, also a piece of paper so I can write down the stitches and the rows that I have, a pen, and my phone for the calculator. Okay, so remember, you need to do your swatch with the stitch that you're gonna be using in your project, with the needles that you're gonna be using in your project, even if it's knitting needles or crochet hook, either one, and the yarn. Okay, so we're gonna position the ruler right here. And the other important thing is that you need to know how to identify the stitches in your project. If you don't know this, it's going to be super hard for you to count the stitches and count the rows. So that's key whenever you're trying to sort things out, okay? So in here, I'm going to try to align my ruler with the stitches right here, so I know exactly when to start and when to finish. So in here, this is knitting, so this is stockinette, and as you can see in here, these little V's are the stitches. Okay, so every little V, it's one stitch. So if we count on the sides, these are the amount of stitches that we have per 4 inches. This ruler is 4 inches by 4 inches, or 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, okay? And same going up. So in here, the little V's are gonna determine the amount of rows that we have. So we're gonna count these, and I'm gonna have my paper right here, and I can count that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 stitches in 4 inches. So I'm gonna write these. I have 9 stitches in 4 inches. And now I'm gonna count the rows. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I have, I have 13 rows in 4 inches. Okay, so now let's put these aside, and we're gonna focus on this, and we're gonna need our calculator. So we know that we have 9 stitches in 4 inches. But now let's say that I want my blanket to be 40 inches. I want my blanket to be 40 inches wide. How do I do this? It's just the rule of 3. So grab your calculator, and we're gonna do 9 stitches times 40 inches, and then divide it 4. And that gives us 90. So we need 90 stitches to get 40 inches in our project. Now the same thing we're gonna do for the rows. let's say that we want our blanket to be another 40 inches. We're gonna make a square blanket. We want our blanket to be 40 inches. So how many rows do I need to knit or crochet to get to 40 inches? We're gonna do again the rule of 3, and we're going to 13 times 40 divided 4, 130. So I need 130 rows to get to 40 inches. And this is how you calculate the amount of stitches and the amount of rows that you need for your project. Remember that this is for easy project, for simple stitches, nothing complicated. Basic blankets, basic hats, scarves, shawls, and things like that, okay? Rugs, whatever simple thing you want to crochet or knit. Okay, and just like that is how you can calculate the amount of stitches and rows that you need for your project. I hope this video was easy to understand. As you could see, the math is very simple and it's super easy to calculate stitches and rows for easy projects or simple projects. So I hope that makes sense. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below. Share it with your friends. That's a super easy way to help us creators and be able to provide free content for you guys. That's the easiest way to help us, is just sharing, liking, commenting. And that's all I have to say. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye!